It just goes. Don't turn it off. Just leave it. I leave it on all the time. Um, I would not tell her because I send different girls. I would tell each girl each time they come. When they collect the garbage, throw it in the garbage can in the garage.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the first times that's happened.
No, it's not. They do it every time.
I could tell you that they don't always on that garbage can is not always empty.
Really?
Mm.
I thought it was.
No.
Well, that's the garbage can I was concerned about because you always throw your paper stuff away.
Usually I throw it right in the regular garbage can. I don't throw a lot of stuff in this.
Good, because I don't want,
If I do, it's just the empty envelopes.
unless you shred it, you know what I mean?
Mm. Oh, here comes somebody. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's that? Oh, there's Chaim. Hold on for 1 second.
Hi, Jeff.
Morning. Morning, Chaim. How are you?
How are you? Fine.
Good. How
Nice.
things up in New York?
Okay.
Yeah. We miss you.
Yeah, I miss you guys too.
You know, it's nice on Zoom, but it's not the same thing as when everyone's together.
No, it's not the same.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's better than nothing.
Yeah. You know, it was funny because before I really started getting into everything, I had always heard about like when you study Gemara or other things that it's always better to do it with another person or in a group. And I
Right.
always thought, why do you need that? I mean, when I studied in school, I never studied in a group. I just
It's not the same.
no, but it's not the same.
It clarifies, because people ask a question, you discuss it, it becomes clearer than if you learn by yourself.
Yeah, and I think too, like especially in the sciences, you know, there's a definite answer. But here, there's an answer, but there's really not an answer. I mean, we know what the sages say, or we try to understand what they say, but we don't really beyond that. We don't. There's so much more of the unknown. We
Right.
don't know.
That's right. Did Yitzhak is around?
I think so. There's a brisk going on at the shul.
So
I didn't know if they were going to be late or what they were going to do. And
okay, so we'll wait. And that's
yeah,
it.
so that's why I thought I'll come on, and then when he comes on, at least I have it tuned in.
Okay.
So do you do as many do you go to many Daf Yomis up north as you do when you're down here?
Yeah, I just came, this morning I was by Daf Yomi, and tonight I'll be again by Daf Yomi from a different road,
Perspective, yeah.
Right. And I've been going there for the last 50 years with these people. So,
Oh, wow.
So I keep up with that. That's why basically I come back to New York, because otherwise, out of sight is out of mind.
No, I know I have a lot of my friends are in California, and it's like you could feel relationships starting to tail off if you don't stay in contact or you don't see them all the time.
Exactly. So,
so we've been here now about 3.5 years, and it's not when I talk to them now, it's not as often. It's not the same kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not the same thing, of course not. It can't be.
Yeah.
So I had a very good connection with the rabbis that learned the Daf Yomi here.
Right.
So I want to stay in contact.
Yeah,
so,
I can see where that's important. Yeah.
Right. So that way I go back and forth, so I have contact in Boca and I have contact in New York, and that's it.
Yeah. It's interesting how orthodoxy kind of sticks in some places and other places it doesn't. Like it's almost like there's a very small Orthodox community in Northern California,
Right.
where my wife and I were. But like even people that have children that are within that group, they don't keep their children in Cal. They'll send them to Detroit,
Right.
to Baltimore, certainly
Because
to
there's some
different
good-
places in New
because
York.
the yeshivas are there. That's why.
Yeah, it's odd that somebody hasn't come out and really tried to start a because they could be successful in California. It's just that it's like nobody trusts it. They don't trust it to be successful.
Maybe could be
Difficult.
because it's a blue state. That's why.
Well, yeah, that could be too. That could be too.
Yeah, I see.
It's
Yitzhak just sent a notification
oh, did he? Okay.
on my phone, so I don't know what he's trying to do. Let me see.
Oh, let me see. He sent something.
Good morning, everybody.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, here he is.
Yeah, he just said he wrote it and said logging on.
I just said,
Oh.
walking out. There you go. Good morning, Daddy.
Good morning. Morning. How's
Listen,
Shabbos?
Daddy, I'm just letting you know that Jerry Abramson is waiting for you to get back down here. He's got major plans for you. Okay? He wants you to take advantage of your science and Torah background and share it with the young guys today who need a little impetus to learn what it means to be an Erlich Balavos
Oh,
and what it means. So he's waiting for you to come down here. He's got mates. I'm letting you know that your God-given talents are going to be put to use.
As your father's agent, I just want to tell you, we don't come cheap.
We understand that. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mishalem Sechoram.
yeah.
And that's the best thing. That's a rule of the Zimmermans.
I could put that in the bank.
You can, in the real bank.
Uh,
In the real bank.
I hope you don't mind me overstepping my bounds as your
Not at all.
your
Not at
agent.
all, Jeff.
that's
Us
okay.
Levim have to stick together.
Sure, for what? We're under revenue. Yeah. So basically, the same time I came out of the
Okay.
that day to Yisrael. So I go to that class with Mary Yisrael. Okay.
Oh, so you're not, but your day classes were on.
A year and a half later. What I was doing, I had no problem doing accounting. I'm trying to find and what was like crazy. What's going on? And I had to make a decision.
That's graduate
Do I
work type of stuff.
continue in my science degree,
Uh-huh.
or do I continue the sneaker program?
That shows gladly.
Moving forward. Now, because I get it up on body flow. I couldn't stop my.
That's it. Okay, here we go. Give me a second, just propping us up. We are in Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph. Okay, here we go. We are in 13A1. I mean, not 13A1, 13A3. I apologize, 13A3. Okay, that's what we're holding. Jerry, you with us? Put back. Okay, 13A3. So this game. We're also going to. No, I don't know what happened to Jerry too. Maybe he's got it. Maybe wasn't he here? Jerry Bartlett.
Barbara.
Okay, I can't get that. No, he's Jerry 1. No. He's a founding member of this Daf Yod. No, not push. That was it.
He's a higher level. He's all perspective.
Yep. All right. We're holding
You give him a dollar.
13A3. Yeah, Yud Gimel Amud Aleph towards the bottom by the wide lines, the first wide line.
Okay.
Okay, so it starts like this. I'll just start slow. Kinoch nafshei l'Rabasi. When Rav Asi's soul was, it's a beautiful language, by the way, just to listen to these words. Kinoch nafshei l'Rabasi. When Rav Asi's soul was laid to rest. That's how we define death. Kinoch nafshei. his soul rested. That's how we do it. Kiknoch nafshe, turn the Gemara over. Kiknoch nafshe, yep.
And I
There you
see it. It's on the 13
Which
of
one? Daf Yud Gimel Amid Aleph.
the first big line.
The first
The first wide line, because it's
the
a black.
first white line. Yeah.
No, there's a wider line now on the bottom.
Yeah, not wider. First wide. There's
All
wide.
Okay, okay.
Kinoch nafshi dirabasi. Alaya rabbanon lekut nia lemishmate. They went up to the yeshiva to learn, to gather his Torah together. Again, we are dealing in a time when Torah Shel Baal Peh was truly Torah Shel Baal Peh, was truly oral. So what was everybody doing? They were writing. Oh, thank you. They were writing kuntresses, little notes on the side. When he passed away, when Rav Asi passed away, they pulled it together. That's what they did. They came together. A certain Rabbi Rav Yaakov was his name. And by the way, we do this sort of today. On a yard site, what do we do on a yard site? We will pull out the sefer that the yard site, the big yard site was, and we'll learn from the sefer on that day. In other words, to go over his Torah. Hachi Amar Rabasi, so said Rabasi, Amar Ramani Kishem, Shein Isha Niknas B'Pachs Mishava Pruta, just like a woman cannot be married off with less than a Shava Pruta. Kachein Karka Niknas B'Pachs Mishava Pruta. Land cannot be acquired with less than a Shava Pruta. In other words, in essence, we're saying a transaction requires a minimum amount of finance. In other words, too small an amount has no validity to it. Amalahu, the Rabbanim said about Tanina, but we learned in a Brisa, even though a woman cannot be acquired with less than a Shava Pruta, land could, yes, be acquired with less than a Shava Pruta. Amalahu, Kitanya, we're talking about with regard to Chalipin. What's Chalipin? If you remember when you do the sell the chametz, you do something, right? The rabbi gives you his glasses, you pick it up. So that's a form over there that could be done. Titania, Kenya, Koinim became Bekeli. When Chalipin is used, you may acquire the items with the utensil. A utensil doesn't mean what we think, a cup. It means anything. A pair of glasses is a utensil. But when you're using money, that's a different ballgame. Why? Let's ask the basic question, why? We all know the answer. When we think about purchasing with money, it goes with value of the dollar. When you're going ahead and doing the chametz, it's merely transferring over, what do you call it? That's all we're doing. There's a huge difference. And in that sense, the question really is, internally, how do you view a thing when a transaction is taking place? Because the truth of the matter is, transactions are here in your mind. The act of the transaction is only to define what's taking place, what your intent is. When it comes to money, the intent is a certain value. Chalipin is something else entirely. That's why it works in two different ways. And so we're leaning against, and we're going to discuss this much more in the future Masechtas, that a transaction is actually outside of money. A transaction is what takes place.
Outside of value.
Right, very good. When I transact the transaction with money, it's got to be a certain amount, no less than a pruta, because less than that, it's nothing. It's insulting. It's meaningless. Mashain came. If I transact the transaction with chalipin, like this, with the glasses, yeah, that's fine. It's a psychological difference, but that psychological difference is everything, because the truth be told, kinyonim don't require any action. Reality, kiyanim, is all up here. You need the action merely to describe. So, like I mentioned before, the Shulchan Aruch holds that in a place where a handshake means something, that's a kinyan. The Gemara does not bring that as
It's simply to explain it. Chalipin is you're transferring one item to another item.
to another.
So therefore, you need only something physical to cause the transfer. Whereas when you're buying, a transaction has to be done with money, and less than a pruta is not money. That's it.
Now, we all know that Chalipin is somewhat of a joke, because whose glasses are you giving? The rabbi gives you his pen or his glasses, you pick it up, and then you hand it back to him. So what transaction took place? It doesn't matter.
The transfer.
Exactly. At the end of the day, it's how you perceive the transfer.
Right.
Exactly. That's the right word to use. That you're right. The right way in describing the transfer. When it's chalipin, it's a mere transfer. When it's money, it's a purchase. Almost. Even though it comes out to the same thing, it comes. That is why the Shulchan Aruch. This is what I was saying. The Shulchan Aruch writes, even though the Gemara does not bring anything about a handshake, it's money. Actually, they say two things: the handshake and mazel and bracha, which even the Indians who are now controlling 47th Street are still using mazel and bracha. They are. That's what they say. By the deal is not done unless you say mazel and bracha. Okay? They don't say bracha, they're bracha, whatever. My shver Oliver Sholem, my shver coming out of Europe and all those concentration camps, they don't understand how it happened. My shver became very successful in diamonds. He used to get boxes from the syndicate, right? And it was everything. I could just tell you this. When my shviga was nifter, and my lawyer was not a from Jew, I've known forever, guy by the name of Larry Blumberg, special fellow, but he's trying to unravel her estate. Because it's got to be presented to the IRS. He couldn't understand how there could be so many transactions of X amount of dollars that there is no documentation. None. Zero. It's all based on this. That's all. Right? It's unbelievable. The world has
$10 million.
but there's no money in the bank. Right? Yeah. And there's no document.
Let's say airport or anything else, you saw so many diamonds in there.
Mm-hmm.
Did they have to declare it?
We forget before 9/11.
Little times.
You didn't have the security the way you have it today.
Yeah, I know, but you
People
still
used to carry cash. You used to carry $50,000, $60,000 of cash.
$10,000.
Now you have to declare it. That's it. See, you know what they did? You had 5. You went with your sons. Each one took $9,000, and nobody declared nothing.
I had 2 American doctors.
How's it even possible?
2 American doctors.
They do.
Active. Now, why? When I was opening up hotels in Riyadh and Jeddah and the UAE during those days, I would go Shabbos. I'd go from there to Cyprus, and from Cyprus there to Israel for Shabbos, and go the reverse, right? And always make sure. Remember those days you have.
Oh yeah, so they wouldn't see a stem from Israel.
I'm an American. So,
I feel
Today you can't do it.
I
give up.
When they started the Ksuba, they used to drop.
Yeah, the ksuba is done with chalipin. Actually, not so much the ksuba is done with chalipin. The tenoyim is done with chalipin. The gartel, you take your gartel, lift it up, right? Again, nobody knows really what they're doing, but that's it. Sure, of course, exactly. It's fascinating. It's fascinating. Where money is not concerned, we use chalipin and boom.
Even here, like Abasi, comparing Karka to a woman, isn't the whole idea that she's not?
No. It's talking about transactions. That's the pure. We're looking at not a comparison of karka to a woman, only an evidence.
Just some transactions, or these.
Yeah, we're looking again that can a transaction be done with, in essence, no money? And the answer is with no value. The answer is with chalipin, yes, it could. With money, no, it can't. That's what we say. Let's keep going. Hadi Yosef Kamir Hadi Amar Rabbi Yehuda Mishmul. Kol she'eni yedei betiv gitin b'kedushin. Anybody who does not know the laws regarding divorce and marriage, lo yehi lo isaac man, should not have any dealings with him. If you're not an expert, don't get involved. Amar Rabasi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, v'koshin li'olam yosim midara mabel. And those judges who get involved in these things without full knowledge of the laws are worse to the world than the generation of the flood. Shenema, Eila v'chachash v'reitzeach v'goyne v'noyev portzu v'domim nago. Swearing falsely and killing and stealing and adultery have broken all bounds, and blood have met. My mashma, how do you see from here that they're worse than the people of the flood, of the Mabul? I mean, the Targumim Rabbi Yosef. They beget children from their friends' wives. Adding Aveira on top of Aveira. Because if they didn't get married correctly or to get divorced correctly, and then they go get remarried or something else, you understand what's going on over here. Vixiv, Al Kain Tebel Aretz, on account of this, the land shall the land be destroyed. For Umlo Kol Yosef and all who inhabit it will be displaced. Along with the animals of the field and the birds of the sky. And now's the next line. The Gam Degay Hayom Yeosefun, and the fish of the sea shall also be obliterated. The in the generation of the flood, like Nixer Gezerah al Dogim Shabiyam, they did not decree destruction on the fish of the sea. Shenema Mikola Shabacharav Mesu, all that was on dry land died. Veloy Dogim Shabiyam, but not the fish of the sea. The Iluaki Afilu Dogim Shabiyam, even the fish of the sea shall die. So if you're really wondering what's going on in the world today, it's not climate change. It's people change. I mean, if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. Yeah, the whole thing is because when the world comes and you notice what it says about the world. It's not just the Jews. If the world is filled with Zima, if the world breaks down its social character, inevitably, Rabbi, that's what social character is built on the family structure. When that breaks down, and boy has it broken down over the last 50 years since the 60s, babies stop getting born, in case you haven't noticed. The seas become very active. The very nature of the seas begin to change. The water changes. You'll find more plastics in the water, etc. Because you're looking at it right here. This is the Abish that's simply tapping the world on the shoulder and saying, "Wake up! I'm not going to put up with this. I'll do what I got to do. If you don't straighten yourselves out, then I'll do it."
What about the good people?
This is the old rule of the Gemara. Once the mashchis is let loose. Once the mashchis is let loose, everybody, there is no picking out. By makas b'chayris, what were we told to stay? Indoors. Now, why do we have to stay indoors? What? They didn't know the difference between the Jews and the Mitzrayim? Once the mashchis is let loose, if you are in its way, it doesn't matter who you are. Once the gezerah of the Nazis was done, it didn't matter who, what, when, and where. In 1925, the Chafetz Chaim, I saw the letter, not the actual letter, but a printed copy of the letter in an old sefer in the old library in Turbin As. He wrote it in 1925 about Shmiras Shabbos. He said, if the Jews, we do not get back to Shmiras Shabbos as a people, something horrible is coming, terrible is coming, so terrible I cannot describe it to you. And it needs to be pointed out that in 1933, Hitler rose to power. That's the year the Chafetz Chaim was nifter. Two of them cannot be on the same world at the same time. Remember the famous video of the Minchas Eloza in Minkach. Eden in America, Heat Shabbos. They all saw it coming. They didn't know what exactly was coming. They saw the tsunami that was coming to the Jewish people, and once it was coming, it was going to affect everybody.
How come we allowed next day by the wedding?
That's a very good question. I don't have. Why was there? I didn't say. Don't say he allowed it. Why did he allow it? In the street. Lav Davka where he was, but in the street. No, by the Minchas Eloza's the Chasana.
But the Ramah in Krakow, you see across the street, they have an area that is sectioned off with a
Magen David gate, right?
And what did they say? They said that those days they make weddings on Friday. The rabbi came out and says, "Okay, it's Shabbos. For those people that didn't observe Shabbos, it said that the earth opened up and
Swallowed them in. They say they surround it because it's a bit. Yeah. Famous. Yeah. The famous story. This is very similar to the story with the Alten Shul, where there was a husband who was recalcing, and the morale said, "You have to give your wife a get." But in Prague, the Alten Shul in Prague, and also probably in Budapest. It could be. It has to be. Right. So the Alten Shul in Prague, where the Goyim may or may not be, but nonetheless, this story is so that the Maral said, you got to give her a get, and the guy said, I'm not giving a get. He said, listen, the Mishnah in it says that a woman, and we just learned the Mishnah, a woman goes free in two ways, a get or misa sabal. One way or another, your wife is going free. So he left. He crossed over the threshold of the shul to Sabbat, collapsed and had a heart attack and died. Didn't take a step out of the shul, he collapsed and died. Maral said, you're going to give her a get one way. She's going free one way or another. Either you give her a get now, if you walk out of the shul, there's another way.
But if you go down to the shul in the basement, they have little rooms. And that's where they put people in chayim.
Like jails. Jail.
They give a get.
Mm-hmm. Like we said over here. But, no, yeah, in Muncie, he knows all this story. The guy's beat him, he's in jail for 10 years now. Yeah, because we can't do that today. We don't have the power. Anyways, further. Okay, here we go. Where we up to? 10 years. Yeah, terrible. 10 years. He's already there 4 years, I think. I mean, it's terrible because he was convicted. He was mother. Yeah, and they did it l'shem shemayim. It was terrible. They sacrificed their lives, but he was convicted of kidnapping.
So all our good lawyers can get them out after 4 years.
But let's say that the destruction described in Hosea will not occur until the Jews perform all the Averis, not just Mamzerim, but all the Averis, murder, stealing, all of it. Right? Zokti Gemara 13:8-4. Because of swearing falsely, the land shall be destroyed. It means any one of the Averis described over there by definitely. Look who's walking on 2 feet. What he calls any one of the Averis that is described there is enough to destroy. Swearing falsely does what, everybody? destroys the justice system. Without a justice system, you don't have a society. What does mamzerim do? Breaks down the family. You don't have a society. Every one of these averis, its ultimate underlying common denominator is the destruction of the system. But maybe swearing falsely stands by itself that warrants destruction. And the other bays stand alone by themselves that collectively they warrant destruction. Who said that mamzerim by themselves this warrants such destruction? Yud Gimel Amid Beis 13b1 says the Gemara Miksivu Paratsu. Does it say with an extra vav Pirutzim? Right? No, it says Partsuk Siv without a vav. In other words, singular. It says it's singular, which means that each one is worthy of the structure of the world on its own. Zakti Gemara. Hadi Yosef Ikami, they sat and learned more of what Rav Asi said. Haditznah, that I learned in the Mishnah. If a woman that gave birth to a child brought her chatas offering and then she passed away, so she didn't bring her second carbon, which is an oila. Yaviu Yarshem oilasa. Her ears should bring her oila offering. That's only if she designated the animal for an oil offering while she was alive. She set aside two animals, one for the chatas and one for the oil. Okay? And she brought her chatas and she passed away before the oil. Then the inheritors should bring her oil. But if she didn't set it aside, then they don't have to bring it. Alma, we see from here, Kesava Shibuda Lavdi Araisa. The property of a deceased person is not beholden to his debt according to biblical law. Because theoretically, she has a debt to the Mizbeach to bring the oila. Right? Why is it that they don't have to? It's one thing if she designated it already, so it already took on sanctification, so bring it. But if she didn't designate it yet, so nothing was sanctified, we're saying you don't have to bring it if she passed away. That means, biblically speaking, even though she has a debt, the Yarshim don't have to cover the debt. So the Gemara, no. Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yochanan, even though the woman did not designate the specific animal for an oila while she's alive, the heirs must use the property to purchase her animal for her. Alma Kesava, the Rav Yochanan, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yochanan holds Shibuda Habi Midiaraisa. The Shibud is Diaraisa. But in fact, this Machlekes Shmuel Rav Yochanan was argued once before. The Rav Shmuel the Amr Tabayu, they both said, Milva al Peh, we had this before, a loan undertaken orally. So a guy in shul says, well, lend me $100, I'll pay you back. And you lend it to him. And there's nothing in writing. It's all oral. Okay? The creditor cannot collect from the guy's lands from the heirs to the estate. Cannot. And not from those who subsequently purchased land from the guy. Because how could they know that there was ever a debt? There was nothing in writing. No. Milva al peh, in case of a loan undertaken orally, you can collect from the inheritors or from those who subsequently purchased the field of which in essence was pledged this loan. So you see this machlekes is whether shibuda is the araisa or not the araisa. Whether heirs are responsible for the debts of the deceased. So why do I have to learn this twice? Why did I have to learn it over here by the case of the Milva al Peh? And why did I have to learn it by our case of the Oila? Tzaricha, the Iyit Mebahot, we had only said it by Milva al Peh, by a loan said orally. Bahach Kamo Shmuel, 13b2. This is where Shmuel said it's not beholden by Midiaraisa, by biblical law. Because a loan borrowed from another is not a debt that's written in the Torah. A a woman who gives birth, which the Torah requires her to bring the offerings of a chatas, because she says things during her labor that she's going to regret later. All right? Maybe they will agree to Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish that biblically she's subject, that the property of hers is subject to the debt even if she passes away. And if we had only learned from Oila, right, we could have said, Baha Kama Rabbi Yochanan. That's where Rabbi Yochanan said the property is beholden to the debt. Because a debt written in the Torah is like a debt that's written. It's written in the Torah. It's like it's written, right? Where it's an oral loan. Maybe he would agree to Shmuel that the debt is not beholden to by the Yarshim. You need both cases. By the way, Shulchan Aruch, we mentioned this many times before. In fact, the Shulchan Aruch actually says if you lend somebody $1, you're supposed to take a piece of paper and write, A has lent $1 and have 2 other witnesses sign it. That is the truth. We do not hold very strongly of Milval Pes. Okay? You should know that. It's
What's the law? I think in Florida,
yeah.
if you let's go up to your property, lien up to your property.
That's correct.
Right. Florida, but in New York they can't. Over here they can't. Yeah.
Oral agreement you're talking about?
So if you want money in New York, let's say, they can put lien on your property.
Right.
In Florida, they can't because you got homestead.
Your primary residence.
So you on the primary resident, they cannot put a lien.
Explains a lot.
Yes.
That's why doctors never have malpractice. You know that? A lot of doctors in Florida. I came to Florida, I was elaborate. They had notices on their walls. We do not accept malpractice. I said, how did they get away with that? They put everything in their wives' name on their property, and they can't go after their property.
Yeah, well, if they do that, yeah.
I will say this, by the way.
Now the doctor-
Without mentioning names, but there was somebody in our community who was for a long time was in legal problems with a foreign government, frankly, and the United States sort of got involved in all that. But thank God for the house that he had here. He was able to rent it out and make a living off renting out his house here, and was able to live while he was impossible for him to make a living because of this rule. When he moved into Century Village by his father-in-law. And thank God, and Baruch Hashem, things today have straightened out. He's okay, and everything cleared up, and everything was, and he's back. Yeah. What do you call it? Moved back, and the problems are done, and whatever. The whole thing is taken care of. But that's not the. But the point here is, they would have gone if they could have. They would have gone right for the gullet, and erroneously, because at the end of the day, everything itself turned out to be not the way they suspected it.
Well, you always, when I was moving houses up north, I put everything in my wife's name anyway.
Right.
Just to protect yourself.
Right. That's it. I mean, that's the way it is. I mean, look, you do the best you can. If somebody wants to go after you, they'll go after you anyways. It'll drive you crazy.
Every year, it's a law that they cannot go after your primary residence.
Right.
Which is
right. But if you like me, I'm investing. I have a few houses around town, a couple of extra houses around town. Those are in my name, right? Because the fact is, my homestead is the Mandarin house, right? But the Mandarin house is untouchable. That's correct.
You can homestead, not primary residence.
Well, only in your primary residence. Yeah, but you pick a house that's your primary. But it's, no one's checking. But I'm getting there. I probably am doing contributions. The way even now I'm here from Shul Slap to Sukkot. That's already 4 or 5 months. Then I'm going to come back in December and I'll be here for January and February, right? No, she's flying on Tuesday. She's flying tomorrow night. She's coming back Thursday night because she only has 6 teaching days in September. In the whole El. Yeah, the whole El Tishrei, right? So we said, you might as well stay to the end of Sukkot. Yeah, that's why I'm staying. Yeah. Amara Papa, Hilchasa, therefore, Milva al Peh Goiva Min Ayarshim. Papa now says, when a loan is taken orally, you can go after the heirs to collect it. But the Aina Goiva Min Alakuches, from those who purchased property from the guy who made the loan, you can't go after that. Why not? Theoretically, you have a first mortgage on it. The answer is Goiva Min Ayarshim Shibuda Diaraisa, because the rule is that a debtor's property is beholden midiaraisa. It is thing. The Aina Goiva Min Alakuches, the Leslie Kala. Because when he did a title search, there was no paperwork. So from here you see, number one, that title searches are not a brand new thing. The Gemara took it for granted he did a title search because every purchase had to be registered in Bezdin so that a guy could do a title search. But this wasn't registered because it was a milva al peh. Now you understand what the halach is. Don't make milva al pehs. Bang. The kaina es atzma, and nothing is new in the world. In other words, this is where the idea of the Western world comes literally. You're watching where it came from, straight out of our economic system. The kaina es atzma beget of a misas abal. This is the story of the Maral Miprag. She's going free, either with a get or the death of the husband. Bishlema get because of loss sefer krisus. It says you should write for her a document of severance. Ela Mrs. Baal Minolan. But Mrs. Baal Minon, you want a cookie? Here we go. Go for it. There you go. There you go. Okay. How do we know that if the husband dies, she's allowed to remarry? We all take this for granted, right? Why? We have a rule. If somebody becomes incestually asur for one moment, they're asur forever. They're forbidden forever. That's the rule. Remember, you guys forgot back in Yavamas. We learned this. If you become forbidden for one moment, you become forbidden forever. Wasn't she forbidden to the whole world, all through her marriage? So just because she dies, why aren't we doing like the Indians and throwing her into the thing and burning her with her dead husband? How could she become mutter to those people?
Get also.
So get, the Torah says, because of Lo Sefer Krisus. Live. Not but who said when he's dead? Who said? He's dead. You're connected to him. You should be burnt together, be buried alive with him. Yeah, but the Gemara. So the Gemara wants to know. Obviously, the answer is of course. But the Gemara is saying nowhere in the Torah does it say that. So therefore, maybe I should say she was forbidden once. She should be forbidden forever. Right? Think about that. Right? Says the Gemara, Svarahu. It's a Svara. Says, let me say this. Svaru Amar Rav David, right? Who also the husband caused her to become forbidden to other men, and he permits her to other men as well. Right? When he was alive, she was also. When he's dead, she's mutter. David. So Dr. Gemara Vaha Arayas. Here we go. Wait. The incestual relationships, the asala, when a husband causes her to become forbidden to the relatives, she never becomes permitted. Oh no, Yavamas, that's the chiddush of the Yavama. That even though she's an Eishasach, and while she's married to the brothers are forbidden to her. If he dies without children, the Torah removes the arayas and says you could come down and do it. That's the huge novelty of Yavamas, right? Now the Gemara is going to say that. Ella already, but everybody else. So for an example, his let's see. No, it's not necessary. Let's say it's the grandfather. Okay. The husband dies. She doesn't pull to Ibum to the grandfather. She's also to the grandfather while she's married to her husband, right? His father, right? She's also to her father-in-law. When the husband dies, she remains also to the father.
She made it, yeah.
Right? Why? She's free. Let her marry the father now. Answer is, it's incestual. He was also once, he's also forever. Bang! So now, says the Gemara, rather, where the Torah says that a yibum who has no children is forbidden to marry any other man, she falls automatically to who? To the brother who she formerly was also to. It means that if she would have children, she doesn't fall to the brother, and she thereby becomes allowed to everybody else. Muteres. So from Yibum, you can extract that when the husband dies, she becomes free to the rest of the world. No, the rest of the world. The Arayas she can't marry, but she can marry the rest of the world.
Because she has a child already.
Correct. When do we say that a man is allowed to marry two sisters, but only if his wife died, then the sister becomes mutativ. Okay? That's all.
So he's allowed to marry two sisters.
But not simultaneously. Just like a woman is allowed to marry an uncle. An uncle is not an incestual relationship. So too, two sisters. When he's married to one sister, the other sister is forbidden to him. But if his wife should die, right, then that sister who's a single, she had to have been single. What do you call? He's allowed to marry her. Man, he's allowed to marry.
What about cousins?
Allowed to marry cousins.
First cousins?
Yeah.
Where did
The Rebbe's marry cousins, right?
Yeah.
Right.
where did this thing come from? The two brothers that married two sisters.
Two brothers that marry two sisters.
Two brothers that married two sisters. They should never live together under one roof.
Correct. It's a problem. Yeah. Very big problem. Just the same way as we learned yesterday about living under the same roof with your mother-in-law. Same idea.
No,
Sam, I was thinking about that.
No, but it's same thing about living with your mother-in-law. You're not supposed to be under the same roof with your mother-in-law. Same problem.
You mean like permanently or like for sure?
No. But meaning it's a problem. The Gemara yesterday talked about it.
Yeah.
And I told you about the night to be Yehuda. Were you here for the where am I saying? Yeah, exactly. There's no Gedarim. Because let me tell you something. Everybody's in competition with everybody else.
But there's so many jokes about your mother.
Yeah,
That's why.
Usually.
That's why there are so many jokes with the mother-in-law. To create a difference.
Then when you go into a shidduch, okay, you look at the girl, fine, you're ready to do. The last thing you do is check the mother-in-law.
Always.
Check the mother-in-law. Check the mother-in-law.
That's the whole shit.
That's gonna look.
No, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you.
If you want to know what your wife's going to look like in 25, 30 years, you look at the mother. But if you're worried about what we studied the other day about having relations, which leads us, of course, to the joke of the tea bag, which I will not repeat because the door is open. And the door is wide open. Right? That's again. But Dilma ain't like Bonim. But what happens if how? But this is how a Yavama is different because when she has no children, a Surah Alma V'Sharla Yavama. The strange thing happens. She becomes forbidden to the whole world when her husband dies, but she becomes permitted to the guy who originally she was prohibited to. When she has children, is she forbidden then to the entire world, including her brother-in-law as well? Is what he called? No. So here we go. So we all know that a widow is forbidden to a Kohen Gadol. She's allowed to marry a regular Kohen and, of course, any regular Jew. Maybe she's only forbidden to the Kohen Gadol by a negative commandment, right? It says a widow is not allowed to marry Kohen Gadol. To the entire world, she's only, maybe we'll say she's forbidden, 13b3, only by a positive commandment. Okay, a hypothetical positive commandment. How do you know that she's allowed to get remarried free and clear to the rest of the world when her husband dies. So Zaktik Mara, Haya say Maya Vidita. What is this positive command going to do? If the death of the husband releases a married woman from a restricted status, Tishri Ligava, she should become permitted completely. If it doesn't help release her, took Kayama, let her remain in her original state, forbidden to all other men, like she was right before her husband died. Almana Alai, why is this not plausible? Apikta Mimisa. Her husband's death removes her from the liability of the death penalty. The Ukmi al-Asay and places her on a lesser restriction of an Asay. It doesn't make any sense. Your whole theory is not making any sense.
I give you some sort of, maybe just
no.
But if a woman has an incestuous relationship, her husband's living now,
right? Okay. She's forbidden to everybody else.
She's forbidden. Say right, and then you said she's forbidden forever because if her husband dies.
So we know the answer already. When the husband dies, of course she's permitted to the whole world.
She's permitted again, even though she did something very wrong.
She did what?
Well, she had an incestuous relationship.
No. She didn't have an incestuous relationship. She was married to her husband.
Okay.
By definition, she's forbidden to the rest of the world.
I'm talking about an incestuous relationship. She had.
No,
she cheated or did something.
No, we don't have to go there. You don't have to go there. She's married to her husband. By definition, she's forbidden to the rest of the world.
Right.
Who released her? Just because he died, who released the forbiddenness?
But when he died, she had,
no, nothing happened. No. You're taking this too far. 21 on the bottom? Yeah. We'll read number 21 on the bottom. Look at 21 on the bottom.
I'm talking about scarlet letter type.
Yeah, no. If it's true that teach that a husband's death does not release his widow, the pasuk has therefore taught us that a death status has not changed at all. She is on her husband's death. The widow should be subject to all the negative commandments, barring a married woman from an adulterous relationship. That means being with anybody else, as well as to the death penalty for those relations. The Gemara's first inference therefore stands once again. It must be that she is permitted to marry a man from the general populace, for if she was forbidden to do so on the basis of her original restriction as a married woman, why does the Torah go out of its way to say that she cannot marry a Kohen Gadol specifically? If we were to say that she continues to remain forbidden to all men, then of course she's forbidden to a Kohen Gadol, because she's forbidden to all men. Elamai, that you're telling me that she's only permitted to Kohen Gadol, it means what? But she's permitted to everyone else. And we know, of course, that is the situation.
The Jews never had things fall from both scarlet.
No.
When she's
No.
She's not guilty. She's out of the picture.
No. Okay, no. Everybody has a way out. Okay? Nobody is stuck in the dark so much that you can't return to the light. Remember, nothing stands in the way of tshuva.
Right.
I'm going to repeat that again. Nothing stands in the way of repentance.
You said that the rabbi did for 2 years.
Wow. That was just that. It does not matter if a person doesn't stop the fight with his Yetzirah. He never gives up. A Jew does not give up. He does not give in. You can fall 7 times, it says. Pick yourself up. 7 times means you're falling all your life. Every day, it's like 70 years. 7 times, 70 years. As long as you pick yourself up and say, I'm not giving in. Yes, I blew it again. I gave in to my desires. I didn't control myself, whatever.
No stain is permanent.
No stain is permanent. The Jew is loved. The Aveira is the problem. But the Jew, a Yisrael, Afal Pi Shechatu, a Jew, even though he sins, Yisrael is a Jew. Says the Beis Halevi, if a Jew is over on all 613 mitzvahs, and Geshmatz goes off the derech, goes off the path, becomes Catholic almost, and now he wants to do tshuva and return, Does he have to be Megayer? Does he have to convert? No. You know why? Because you're holy intrinsically. Nothing can take away your holiness. You know who proves that, by the way? Hitler Yabach Shemo. He didn't ask how Orthodox you were when he was sending us to the gas chambers. He only asked, are you Jewish? That's it. Because a Jew is a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. And that means you can always return. You can always return. We say it on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We say it and we don't stop to think about the words in the Sana Toikif. Ad yoim moisoi techak eloi. Until the day of death, you can return. Then Yoshuv, if you return, miyad, immediately makabel. Immediately you're accepted. Not that you have to jump through hoops. The Gemara later on is going to say, once again, Harei, the guy says, I'm going to marry you on the condition that I'm a pure tzaddik. The Gemara says, even if he's a pure Rasha, Mikudeshes, they are married, they're sanctified, Shema, here at Tshuva B'Levi. Maybe he thought of Tshuva in his heart. That is the power of Tshuva.
That's why we shouldn't give up on all these Israelis in Tel Aviv.
Absolutely not. You're not allowed, but no, you're not allowed to. Let me tell you something. The beauty of our shul. Is that we have guys now with Stramlo, black hats, keep it surugas and all that, and guys who are still parking across the street. But when they walk into our shul, it's one family. No, it's live and let live. It's one Orthodox shul. The shul that they're driving to is an Orthodox shul. And that's it.
You sure that I don't want to go into because there's an Israeli player?
No, that's the end of this guy. Now, people don't realize this. Prior to
An Ashkenaz shul will paved this way. This is yeah.
We were one of 10% in our shul that did not drive on shop.
Yeah, I can believe that.
90% of the shul, Orthodox shul, drove on shop.
I, who grew up in Borough Park, different story. There was none of this. Right, I'm saying that's my perspective is where Hashem is. Like we said, Hashem's place was in Borough Park.
One thing we did know, very interesting, we found out. When I saw Kohanim, there were not what is it? But we knew actually Kohanim that would not go up to Duchen. Like Yontif.
They drove. Now think about that. Think about that.
And they would be great in that.
That you don't go up because you're a thing. Listen, these Syrians, when I was in Yeshiva Flatbush, they were guys. There was a famous saying, the shul that they don't drive to is always an Orthodox shul. Right. Because the rabbi, he better keep everything. We were a bunch of kids. We're working out with them. We're a bunch of teenagers.
Rabbi Wahlberg used to say, the definition of an Orthodox shul is someone who accepts Orthodox law, not who necessarily obeys
2 laws.
Is that right or wrong?
Yeah, 2 laws make an Orthodox person. Shomer Shabbos, keeping Shabbos, and Taras HaMishpacha, and family purity. Everything else you're supposed to keep, obviously, but the definition. But here's our take. In this shul here, everyone identifies as if you asked him, I'm an Orthodox Jew. This got an Ashkenazic shul, and I say this straight up, should look like our shul, with as much learning that's now taking place in the shul, and more each time. I could only quote you what David Shapiro told me, what he called Ben's father. He said, if we could just pick this shul up and bring it to Israel, we'd probably solve all the problems.
Well,
and he's right, because it's the one place.
At least when I came.
You came before me or after? I don't even remember. And I came in 19.
But I've been in both.
15 years, right? Yeah.
They would ask the rabbi, can you tell us about the hashkafa, the makeup of this synagogue? This following thing, you heard his story. He said, you've been to Israel? Yes. You've been to the Kotel? Yes. We are the Kotel synagogue of Boca Raton.
Beautiful.
You come without a yarmulke, there's a yarmulke thing there. You come, the woman comes bare thing, we have shawls for her. Just come.
Show up, but when you're here, put on a shawl, put on a thing. So, because today already, we become a little more Heinish without using that word. We're the shul with the tables and the white tishtuchs on the tables. And now Rabbi Goldberg in BRS has already come down here a few times during the summer, and I saw him go take a look at the tables, and he'd love to get rid of the chairs in the BRS, but the older guys are not letting him do it. But we've become a very Heimish shul, and the tables, we fought for it. He knows. Me and Mr. Schlesinger went to war, and we won.
The old times.
Because they see it like this.
Yitzchak,
Yeah.
they already put 2 tables in that shul in BRS.
You heard what my father
Right.
said? They already put 2 tables in the big shul in BRS. They started. Very good. Very good.
This week, I mean, I didn't know we did some more.
Truth to the matter is, Rabbi Goldberg is now wearing a black hat, okay, which he didn't for 20-something years. And he came out of Teaneck. He put on the black hat now. His kids, I don't. His kids are getting married to more yeshivish people. And he knows which way the wind is blowing. And he understands what tables represent. We may not be davening Nusach Svard, but the shul thinks with a Hasidic shikar.
What am I missing about the table?
Oh, you don't understand what the table is. One table. This is what. Right, I know.
But why would someone look
A
at the
table? Yes, labi tables. You sit in a bench. You don't either hold your sitter like they do in BRS, or you have the thing in the thing. Open up and you're locked into this. Nobody. A table. You come in. You put your towels down. Your coffee down. In other words, coffee. The thing. You didn't have. We understood it. It's a regular rule, but the idea of it is, but in the shul, in the sin, in the basic Knesset, right here, they wanted Charlie originally wanted Lavita benches here, and I, nothing personal, because I did talk to Jerry, and I said, Jerry, think about it. And thank God we did it because we would never go back. It's back in the chair. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's keep going. All right, here we go. Here we go. Okay. So says the Gemara, this would be similar to animals that were sanctified, but became because of a defect, cannot be sacrificed. From the beginning, when they had not yet been redeemed, the laws of Me'ilah apply to them. Meaning, if you use them inappropriately, you have a problem. The Yisur Begiza V'Avodah, you're not allowed to share them or use them for work. Parkinu, but after they've been redeemed, Me'ilah Lesbu, there's no Me'ilah, they're taken out of their sanctification. Begiza V'Avodah Yisur, but they're still forbidden to be shared or used for work. Why? Because once they had the prohibition on them, we don't remove the prohibition. So you see, a greater restriction is removed, but a lesser one can now apply. So maybe it does apply. Because maybe you'll die in war, and another man will take her. A guy who's married for 1 year is not allowed to go to war. Why? Because you might go to war to be killed, and another man will take her. How can another man take her if she was forbidden? Proof is, if you become a widow, what's the answer? You can get remarried. That's good. As usual, nobody accepts it so clearly. Who's the acher? Yovam. it's Yavam that she can fall to Yibum, but not that she can marry to other men. So the Gemara Rabashi beis Chuvas Bedava. We've got two rebuttals, and here's where we're going to stop. Chod the Yama lo Yikri Acher. First of all, a Yavam is not called another man, right? He's called a Yavam. But the Senea Isha Acher because of Lo Sefer Krisis, Oy Ki Yomusa Isha Acher. And if the second husband hates her and writes her a bill of divorce, or if the second husband dies, the ikish misa legerishin. So you see that the Torah is comparing divorce to death. Ma shaya v'gemeres. Just as divorce completely permits a woman to remarry, misa shaya v'gemeres, so too death completely permits a woman to remarry. We're going to stop over here now. Tomorrow, whoa, Daddy. Tomorrow I'm not giving a shiur in the morning. You remember my that young man Philip Snyder? You met him, his wife Ariella. Thank God they had a baby boy.
Yeah.
And after a while, after a period of time, the Baruch Hashem had a healthy baby boy. Tomorrow morning at 10:15 in BRS is the bris.
Oh.
So we're going to have the shiur instead tomorrow at 6:30, 1 hour before Mincha. Mincha is 7:25, 6:30.
Just give me a call to remind me.
Right. So I'm gonna send out a text. So tomorrow we're learning at 6:30. You heard that, Jerry? And I'm gonna send it out to the group. Okay, which is 55 minutes before Mincha.
Yeah, but I have to go to Rabbi Brak here.
At what time?
Well, he starts 7:35. It takes me time
So,
to.
all right. So you'll leave. You'll start at the beginning and you'll leave in the middle. What can you do?
So give me a call
I will. Very good, everybody. Kol tov. Have a wonderful day.
Take an extra glass of schnapps for me.
You got it. I will, and I'll tell them.
Thanks, Yitzhak. Thank you.
You got it, Jeff. You heard that. So tomorrow we're learning at 6:30.
Sure, got everything.
You got it. You got
Thank
it.
you.
Very good. Bye.
Have a good day, Chaim.
You got
Okay,
it. Bye-bye.
good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, yeah.